Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on a Friday. Chase is feeling good about himself up and in here. We are excited for this week with Jake's Prime Predictions. A little bit of changes that are going to be coming up here next week, but I'm excited about it, though, here on the Snake Sports Talk Show, wherever and however you may be watching and listening. Thanks for making us part of your day, Chase. Look, there are reasons why that I make a top 10 every week for those specific reasons, because last night was a pretty damn good game from Green Bay. And, yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's taken a lot of teams in the NFC on notice, so I'm excited about it. I think Green Bay literally looks like the tough, very well-structured team going into the NFC than a lot of these other teams are. I mean, Philadelphia will give you what you pay for, but then I get mixtures of Washington, Dallas, who looked a little more buttoned up. So there's a lot that I'm getting up and into the NFC.
Yeah, no, I think that the one thing that the Commanders are missing truly is a good offensive line, because they've got the offensive firepower to compete and everything with Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and young running back and everything. But I think they're missing a very talented top-tier young tight end. I think that's one thing that they're also missing. And then the offensive line to be able to give Jaden the time that he needs. Right now, I think the Packers are one of the most complete teams in the NFC. You know, they still have a lot of their coaching staff. Jeff Hafley is more than likely going to be a top candidate for the coaches and stuff this next year and everything. But as far as a complete team in terms of quarterback, offensive weapons, and defense, the Packers are one of the most complete and one of the youngest teams in the NFL. And I think it's crazy to think about, because you know, you start looking at the history of the Packers, and it's that 27th year for Jordan Love. You know, Brett Favre won a Super Bowl for the Packers when he was 27. Aaron Rodgers won one when he was 27. Now Jordan Love turns 27 November 2nd. And is it going to be that magical third year or third Super Bowl that the Packers get with a quarterback that is 27 years old and has learned under a talented young veteran for 2 or 3 years? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, they are the most complete team in the NFL, in my opinion.
And it's funny when you say that. So talking about last night's game, because we're on fire right now with our college picks and all the rest of it. We'll get to that here in a second. So last night, what it told you is that Denver, Green Bay, my bad. Green Bay, in my opinion, they are looking like top to bottom on their roster, the most completed team. It's unfortunate that Jaden Reed ended up getting hurt, and now he's going to be sidelined for the next couple of weeks. But the thing about it is, this is why Green Bay's system really does work it out for himself, because you drafted a lot of these youngsters, and they're kind of slowly getting into their prime. Romeo Doubs ended up scoring last night. And then, of course, Christian Watson just got a new contract. And even if Matthew Golden got no catches amongst the targets that he was on, he's going to end up growing into this system as well. So Jaden Reed, with him being sidelined, is going to allow someone like Matthew Golden to come in and fill in. But the bottom line is, when you watch that defense last night, that defensive front is so fast and so physical. And I think a lot of that is because Micah Parsons is only going to be playing about 60% of his snaps. So that's allowing guys like Rashawn Gary, like several others that are on the defensive front, to check in and at least get the pressures that they know that they need. So Green Bay, to me, which is why when I put them up at number 1, and I will be showing my top 10 here up and onto the program before I end up getting into my prime predictions. But the bottom line is that this Green Bay team just looks and feels like an absolute threat in the NFC. I mean, even if you're playing a top-tier team like Washington and Detroit you did last week, Detroit's offense looks completely different without their coordinator, and they've got their defensive coordinator now coaching the Jets. This team looks completely different. Washington, about a mixture of everybody's back, only except for a few other additions. But like I told a lot of people, I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be primed up for a slump. I think, if anything, there are more chances that I think Bo Nix could be bound for one. But Jaden Daniels is more of a competitor. He's trying to work with everything that he possibly can, and which is why I told people when it came to fantasy purposes, I would not expect Terry McLaurin on a short week to end up getting some points. But I'll get to them in a second. But Green Bay, to me, from top to bottom, a well-ran organization in a small town of Green Bay, Wisconsin. This is a team that has no worries whatsoever. And Matt LaFleur is a very smart coach, understands the offense, knows exactly how to get offensive line right. And then at the same time, you add in a Micah Parsons that just gives you more juice and speed and physical play. This is a guy that's going to end up getting you up and on the top from a lot of games all throughout the season. And Green Bay, they probably will end up making a case to be a number 1 or number 2 seed in the NFC when it's all said and done, if they end up making the playoffs. So I was not, like, this is the thing. I did not have Green Bay in my top 10 last week. And the only reason of it is I didn't know what I was going to get from Green Bay. They were in the top 15, in my opinion, because I do like Jordan Love. But they are the prototypical Green Bay quarterback that's not afraid to make risks. He's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid to throw the ball. If it becomes a completion, it is what it is. And if it becomes a pick, it is what it is. They're not afraid to take risks, unlike some of these quarterbacks who do get held back for stuff like this. So I think Green Bay is in a very good place. They're in a very good spot. And I think this is why last night showed you exactly that on a short week. Micah Parsons still playing up on 66% of his snaps, and he's giving you everything that he's gotten up from there. So, which now brings me to Washington, because Washington is still going to be a competitive team for the next few years up and into the NFC. I have no question about that. But Jaden Daniels, amongst a lot of these other quarterbacks, because the 2 jumps that I predicted when the season came up was J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix. J.J. is on the half and half for me, 50%. I think it should be fair. But Michael Penix, like I told you, when he was slinging the ball last week for the Atlanta Falcons against Tampa, a division rival, those are some very quality throws. Those are not some of these ones that, like, rookies, they're kind of slowly getting into themselves. This is by far a pro NFL prototype quarterback that is going to make it into this league. So when it comes to Jaden Daniels, Jaden can play both game changer and game manager when it matters most, which is why Washington, it took everybody by surprise when they got to the NFC Championship. But when you look at teams like Philadelphia has an identity. Highly emotional, can get physical and talk smack to your face. They don't care what you think about them. They will play to the best of their abilities. Then there's Washington, new owner, new GM, new coach, new quarterback. They're kind of riding this wave with how good they're playing. Dallas, it's all ran through Dak. And at this point, you're watching with how this defense was. The team looked buttoned up to me. And Dallas might actually look a little different. Offensively, they'll be in good hands. I trust every one of their offensive weapons. San Francisco, I said, could be taking a hit. Look at what's happening now with Brock Purdy being sidelined 2 to 5 weeks. They're going to feel it. But it's funny because when we describe the AFC and the NFCs, Chase and I have been talking about this for a while. AFC is more known to be quarterback top heavy than the NFC, while as in the NFC, they're the more roster constructed conference than the AFC. Because have you noticed how some defenses are not quite right? You notice how some offenses are not quite right? As much as I respect Kansas City, I don't even think that's the same offense. And the NFC knows exactly to draft and develop and put together the best roster, top to bottom. That's why I think you're going to see some shockers like the Cardinals, like the Falcons, like several teams in the NFC. But it's interesting. So that's why I think with Washington, they are particularly up and on the map as competitive teams in the NFC amongst Philadelphia, Green Bay, Minnesota. I mean, look, J.J. McCarthy didn't look his best in the first 3 quarters, but the resilience in the fourth quarter is what made it happen. That's what's the most important thing. But I love their coaches, their coordinators, guys on the roster that they've addressed. That's what makes it so good to watching the competition in the NFC. And then you even get a little bit of, Seattle in a sense. And like I said, I love what the Cardinals are doing up on defense. So the NFC, I feel like, could be wide open. Whereas the AFC, even the AFC, I kind of feel is a little bit wide open. Because Kansas City, you just saw last week in Brazil, there's a little bit of some kinks there. Whereas you watch, I think Cincinnati will look better this week compared to what last week gave them because the offense was just all over the place. Chargers look very good up on a Friday night, but there are some teams that can make some serious noise in the AFC. So, but once again, I think I love the fact that we're getting balance on both conference with as far as competition-wise. It's interesting. Good stuff. Chase, I like I said, I think taking away from that game, Green Bay being patient and well-ran as they are, and even if I didn't have them in my top 10 last week, doesn't mean that they will not make the top 10 this upcoming week, because you'll be surprised what I have in my top 10 going into week 2. But there have been teams that I've slowly taken off for specific reasons. But I just do think that Green Bay, Philadelphia, Washington, and Atlanta, Tampa Bay, there are a lot of teams that are competing in this NFC.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like if you look at Green Bay,
yeah,
like you can go top to bottom, position by position, or team or like roster by roster, and they do not have, in my opinion, in terms of an overall team, any issues with that team in general. Like you go, like they are the most complete team. Like you go through and you look at the Minnesota Vikings. What change have they made? They have a new quarterback at the helm. The Detroit Lions lost both of their coordinators. The freaking I'm drawing a blank. Who else is in the division there?
I mean Minnesota.
Yeah,
I mean, look, we anticipated
go through the entire NFL and you look at all of the changes that have been made in terms of their rosters and everything. Like the Cowboys just got their new head coach. The Eagles just got a new offensive coordinator. The freaking Commanders are going into a there where they've got no changes that are made, but they don't have a complete roster and everything.
No.
Green Bay is the one that has everything complete in terms of all of their coaches are still there.
The only thing that they changed,
no like roster construction that has changed other than like the draft picks, and they've got their quarterback still. Like nothing's different.
The only thing that's changed is the defensive coordinator. That's the only thing that's really truthfully changed.
Hafley was their DC last year, wasn't he?
No, Joe Barry was. Because remember, Joe Barry was the one that, like, a lot of people were just like, I don't like his scheme calling. But this one, they actually have a lot of high praise on him because he's had a lot of experiences up and into the past. They like him as a defensive coordinator. And you know what? When I watched some of the scheme plays, they're fantastic. They are very physical. They're fast, and they can get around an offensive line. Like, they could really give team fits in their conference. But the thing is, we anticipated what was going to happen to Detroit the minute the coordinator's gone. Did you see how many times they played conservative ball, short out routes? It was
plays are gone. The sweeps are gone. Like, you didn't see like the Lions offense running nearly as efficient as what they did.
They're not even running up the scores. And then Chicago, like, here's the thing. Caleb Williams looked good, but not terrible.
He's a bust.
But I do believe, though, there is a lot of that he's got to clean up. We'll talk about that, too, up and onto the program. But I feel like it's Green Bay, Minnesota. I am not pivoting off of with Minnesota because here's the thing. Even if J.J. McCarthy did not look good in the first 3 quarters of that game, you can't tell me that resilience right there that he had in the fourth quarter does not tell you, oh, Kevin O'Connell has got him comfortable now. It's going to take a bit of time. Nobody gets perfect initially with that. But Green Bay, like I said, in a short week, that's the stuff where I was like, okay, Green Bay looks for real. That is a team that will give teams like Philadelphia and Washington and Minnesota and a bunch of teams in the NFC a lot of fits because they're just that well ran. I would never, ever question them when it comes against the South because, I mean, let's face it, Carolina and New Orleans is clearly rebuilding, and the only ones that you have is Tampa and Atlanta. But that's the thing.
I mean, like Atlanta and Tampa, like I'm not really too scared of.
Atlanta, I liked, from their offensive side when it came to Michael Penix, but for whatever reason, what drove me crazy was how conservative that they got after he was slinging the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like that at all. So yeah. Hopefully there are going to be a lot of changes. But
don't be surprised if you see like a team like the Washington Commanders, especially like if they're in it around the trade deadline, like if they're like planning to make a push, they go for a guy like Tyreek Hill because the Miami Dolphins, I feel like, are in a massive.
Well, yes, I think they're in the mix. Kansas City's in the mix because Kansas City right now is depleted on receivers, and right now this is not a good offense. I was actually kind of sorely disappointed. I love Josh Simmons. But this is not the same Kansas City offense we're so used to.
And I really wanted to see him. I wanted to see Jalen Royals to see what he can do with Patrick. I've heard that he has been phenomenal during camp, phenomenal during the preseason, but you don't get to see him. You don't get to see Rasheed until 5 games from now. And then Xavier Worthy is week by week basis.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting though.
Horrible.
Coming up after the break, we do have our top 10 of NFL teams going into week 2, breaking all of that down, and Jake's prime predictions. By the way, guys, we are going through a lot of exciting changes that are going to be coming up and onto the show, and I will tell you what they may be, give you a little snippets. But we know that Jake's prime predictions will still be going up and around, but we may potentially be introducing Jake's Inferno 5. Because, listen, these are a lot of games to break down. But I think having simply 5, because I started thinking about this over the course of the week because we were on fire on our college football picks. Okay, last week we went 3 for 3, and I was very happy of it. I'm really confident this weekend how we're going to look with this one because there are a lot of really good games, and some I would be taking the unders on some of their total bets, but that's more coming up next. By the way, guys, like we said, it was unfortunate. We only had 1 pick that unfortunately was out for the game. But with our good partners at Payday Fantasy, they told us disregard that because we know that was going to be a pain for everybody up and into their wallets. But we did nab the 2 picks. And so for Jake's triple play prop bets, all courtesy of our partners at Payday Fantasy because that is your go-to pick'em fantasy platform where you can pick the player, pick exactly the potential that they may go over or under in their projected stats. It's a lot of fun. I've had a lot of great reviews up from it, and we've been on fire. Last week in the Sunday night football game, Chase, we were winner chicken dinner on that game. So, yeah, we were awesome up on it. So I love the new partnership that we have with Payday Fantasy, guys. And you, too, could love what Payday Fantasy there can offer you guys. And plus, with our exclusive offer for up to 100% of deposit match with your $100, use promo code SNAKE when you sign up to get the 100% deposit match of up to $100 when you end up depositing and you end up making your picks to take on, whether it's coworker, family, whomever it may be. Go head to head. Pick your player. Pick the projection, over under, and win big and get paid. Check it all out here today at paydayfantasy.com. Download it as well and use promo code SNAKE for 100% of your deposit match of $100, guys. That's paydayfantasy.com, guys. Download, sign up, pick, and get paid with Payday Fantasy.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
All right, so a lot of people, I will tell you, I got a lot of pushback up and onto my top 10 NFL team. Chase is about to witness this before we end up going up and into our news break from yours truly. It's going to be a lot of fun up from this one, but here we go with Jake's top 10. Let's get it going.
Rank them up.
Yeah, it's time. Let's go, baby. It's on time right now.
The top 10 NFL teams, according to Jake.
Number 10.
So, number 10, I was telling a lot of people this, and what I've said is that I just am not moving from Minnesota. And the Vikings, what they showed you last week on a Monday, it was division rival, highly emotional game in Soldier Field. But J.J. McCarthy, even if you looked at him from 3 quarters and went, man, he's mid, he's ass. The resilience in the fourth quarter was like, man, I've seen this from Tom Brady. I've seen this from Derek Carr. I've seen this from a lot of quarterbacks who can come back up and into the fourth quarter. But defensively, what I love is that they made a lot of really good changes, folks, because that's the stuff that you know is going to be crucial before the game ends. Caleb Williams looked good, but I still think there are some things he needs to clean up. So I've got Minnesota up at number 10 here to start off our top 10.
Number 9.
All right, so number 9 here. This one was a little bit challenging. And so at number 9, I've got the Denver Broncos. Look, you may call me crazy, but the Denver Broncos, I love their defense. Their defense shut down Cam Ward to some areas, but Cam Ward, I will say that kid can play. Chase was telling me for months that, like, look, Cam Ward is the real deal, and I got a chance to watch that up in Tennessee. But Denver's defense is legit. I did not like what they displayed up on offense, but there is time for Sean Payton to fix stuff like that because Bo Nix, 2 picks up on offense, not exactly a very good performance out on his end, but defensively, I give the Denver Broncos up at 9.
Number 8.
Number 8 team here in this one was Washington. And after last night, I mean, they probably could be outside looking in. They still are a very competitive team. But Washington last week against the Giants, they put up points. It was slow to begin with. But what did I tell you? Chase is my witness. The underneath throws that Jaden Daniels loves to run because he's a snap-and-go quarterback. Throw quick, or he's going to be tucking the football in and running. His connection with Deebo Samuel is really what's going to be fantasy friendly for a lot of teams or a lot of people that play, that if you got Jaden Daniels, you better hope that you got Deebo Samuel on your roster too, because you're going to get receptions, you're going to get yards after the catch. Underneath stuff really is working for Washington. I put them up at 8.
Number 7.
Number 7, I got to go with the LA Rams. The thing about what's good about the Rams, that defense is young. I even said this up and on the program before the week started, is that Matt Stafford, because of the injury, he's going to be a little bit slow to begin with. But Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, these guys, this is a very good offense. But what Sean McVay's been able to do with a young defense is he's been able to really come up with different plays and schemes that would really help for these young guys to play. This Rams defense can be very scary for down the stretch. I got him up at 7.
Number 6.
Okay, just because they lost up on prime time on a Friday night game, I still got the Kansas City Chiefs. You'd be thinking I'm crazy if I don't have them at top 10. Listen, Pat Mahomes did Pat Mahomes things. The offensive line didn't give him a break. They didn't even utilize Isaiah Pacheco the best way that they usually do. And the run offense, the red zone offense was just piss poor horrible. It wasn't even good to begin with. I think a lot of that was on Matt Nagy. I think they would clean themselves up, come into a competitive game at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. I would probably see Kansas City rebound themselves. I don't know if they'll win that game because Philadelphia is all high emotions. But I thought Patrick Mahomes looked pretty good. And so here's the team now I got up at
Number 5.
I got the LA Chargers up from here. Look, it's no question whatsoever. You saw a completely different offense from Justin Herbert, and he was throwing to everybody. Quentin Johnston, 2 scores. Lad McConkey with a few catches and a first down. And by the way, kudos to Keenan Allen for, at his age, getting 7 catches and a touchdown score. Like, this is a completely different revamped offense. And the defense, by the way, they played situationally good. Even if Patrick Mahomes, who is just that good in the conference in the AFC, the Chargers held up the run. They've also locked down a bunch of weapons, and they played containment. Even if they gave up 21 points in that game, it is not a bad way that you want to end up. And I think being a top 5 team just like that, situational play, I love what I saw from the Chargers this past weekend.
Number 4.
Okay, number 4, in my opinion, I'm putting the Baltimore Ravens up from here because Lamar Jackson, that was not on him in that game against Buffalo. But the 16 unanswered points you gave up to Buffalo on defense, and they couldn't even scheme up anything different to stop Josh Allen. And if it wasn't for the fumble from Derrick Henry, that team would have snuck away with a win. It's unfortunate that this happened with the Baltimore Ravens. But listen, here's the bright side. Green is really good. The edge rusher, Malachi Starks, and a lot of guys, listen, the offense can really blow you up. They're playing Cleveland this weekend. Isn't it? That's going to be interesting because watching DeAndre Hopkins, watching Mark Andrews, and watching a lot of these offensive players, and even for Zay Flowers, this offense is for real. They can run up the scores, but they just got to be able to play containment for the rest of the season.
Number 3.
Number 3, it's no question, Buffalo Bills. That was an exciting game all the way up from there because Josh Allen, the only thing that scares me about the Bills is Josh Allen has to wear a cape again. He has to go and put the ball in his hands, play superhero ball, and get the Bills back into the play. That's the one thing that scares me about all season long with the Bills. Because if you're continuously leaning on Josh Allen to win you games and the defense that gave up 40 points to Baltimore, who was running up the score, that scares me a lot. But I love Buffalo's offense. I mean, watching Josh Palmer get a couple catches, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, by the way, really looked good. James Cook got a rushing touchdown. Buffalo's offense, I think, looked really good. But once again, I feel like in a lot of these rushing games, they're just so heavily reliant on Josh Allen.
Number 2.
Number 2, I got the Philadelphia Eagles up from this one. Listen, the only thing that knocks the Philadelphia Eagles is they are still looking for a corner 2. But here's the thing. Why I have them at 2. Jalen Hurts, to me, is like Russell Westbrook. He's an improviser. He's not up over there to just throw the ball. He can then scan the field when it comes to the defensive line. And the amount of times the Dallas Cowboys left lanes open, Jalen Hurts is running in for a touchdown. He is an improviser for a reason. This is why Philadelphia does not always be dependent on Jalen Hurts with throwing the ball or any of that. They expect him to put the ball in his hands and just take control, don't turn the ball over, and just be an improviser. But again, there's some stuff to clean up. If Jalen Carter was not out of that game, totally different story when it comes to yards against them on the run. That would have been completely different, but I think they're still looking for their corner 2. That's where I got Philadelphia, and here I got it number 1.
Number 1.
There's no question, and they just proved it to us last night. The Green Bay Packers, top to bottom. I think this defense looks legit. Micah Parsons and Jordan Love, by the way, even if Jaden Reed is out for the next couple weeks, they got that rookie from Texas, Matthew Golden. Romeo Doubs comes away with a touchdown catch, and then you've also gotten you got Christian Watson, who you re-signed. You're keeping him. But by the way, Kraft, the tight end, looks really, really good. So defensively, they are doing well. I would not anticipate them to not go and get a corner in the trade deadline just to at least help and solidify their defense fully. But I would expect Green Bay to really get fit into the NFC. They didn't make my top 10 last week. They're making my top 10 this week. There you go. There you go, Chase. Vikings, Broncos, Washington, LA, Kansas City, the Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Eagles, and the Packers. He's shaking his head right now, and I'm just like, okay, look.
I disagree. Like the Eagles at 2, that was not an Eagles team that it's like I could sit there and say, wow, this team is great. Like they lost their OC, they're getting a new one, and they are one CD Lamb catch away from being 0-1 right now. I think
you are right.
This list, move everybody down 1, take the Eagles out of 2, and put them right in between the Commanders and Rams.
I listen, I understand what you're going with that. But the only thing that bailed Philadelphia is Jalen Hurts being an improviser. If you didn't have that, then I would have definitely narrowed down Philadelphia. I said it.
The Philadelphia Eagles is CeeDee Lamb dropping 4 passes.
But listen, I've already said, I even said that on the program last week. If CeeDee Lamb did not drop the amount of catches that he did that were crucial, Dallas would have completely taken over that game. And I probably would have had Philadelphia at 5 or 6. Okay. But the thing about it is they are very competitive. All right. And if it wasn't for Jalen Carter doing what he did to Dak, and then he's out for the game, we would not be seeing the rushes from Javonte. I think Javonte would have had 1 score, not 2. But I would see Miles Sanders not play the way that he did either. So that's why I'm like, I think there's still some things to clean up. I'm giving them at least a pass this week because they still, you heard me. I said they still got to get that corner 2 right. But I think after that, they are a competitive team. If this week against Kansas City, if they folded so bad against Kansas City, then you're going to hear me all week. You're going to hear me like, okay, they're definitely not the same team. But remember,
top 2, like after the Bills, like
remember this list is interchangeable. That's what I'm saying.
I know, I get that. But like,
I'm not kidding when I tell you.
You put the Eagles over the Buffalo Bills, who were down by 20 points and came back and won against the Baltimore Ravens? Like you,
But Chase, do you know how many people are coming after my head when I don't have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the top 10? I have them at 11.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I have them at 11. Like
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm more worried about the fucking Buffalo Bills over there at sitting at 3, dude. Like,
but look,
I could go. I could
can't
totally
sit there and tell me. You cannot sit there and tell me.
Except that number 2 spot is what's bugging me.
Look, you cannot sit there and tell me that you did not enjoy watching Josh Allen just take the ball into his hands and literally score 16 unanswered points against Baltimore.
That's what I'm saying. Number 3, dude. Like, come on.
Look, it was a score fest, okay? And it was week 1. Look, so the only reason is because I loved both of these offenses. Defenses were trash because, look, it was a tale of different halves between both those defenses. Baltimore was running all over their throats, okay? And if it wasn't for Baltimore pulling back, not pivoting up on defense like they should have, Baltimore had no business winning that game. But once again, it just goes to show you.
You can sit here and blame the defense and everything, but
I'm
going to blame Lamar.
Do you know who I have in the top?
Here's the reason why I'm going to blame Lamar and everything, because at the end of the day, when you have a 20-point lead and you lose 40-41, who has the ball getting ready to drive you down the field to win?
Okay.
Your quarterback. And
I get that.
Who had the ball ready to drive their team down the field to win for Buffalo?
Yeah.
The MVP.
Yes. But is it Lamar's fault that Derrick Henry fumbled the ball? Is it Lamar's fault that the defense shelled for 16 points?
Is that his fault that they didn't get?
Because again, I'm just saying it this way. Lamar Jackson can't play both positions. None of these quarterbacks can play both. This is not like, here's the thing. Flip the sides around. Is it Josh Allen's point? Is it Josh Allen's fault that the defense completely shelled and they had no answer for Lamar in that first half? Like, that's not Josh's fault. They came at him with full frontal force and they cannot figure it out. And you're at home.
But what was the reason the Buffalo Bills came back and won?
It's because Josh Allen had to play hero ball. That's the only way. Because
Lamar couldn't do it.
This is the fact. No, but this is the fact.
Hero ball.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing, though. We were having a conversation about this, is that it's so hard to convince Baltimore to stop running up the score and holding the lead. That is also another conversation we'll have here up and onto this program. But because I'm like, does Baltimore run up the score? And because does Baltimore need to stop running up the score and protecting leads? And that's how they get out of these games. You know how many times they have lost games in which they were double digits, like big on leads, and they've lost them?
8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think it's that easy to literally convince them, hey, hold up the game score? No, because they're basically feeling themselves. They feel like teams are never going to come back from these games, but that's the unfortunate reality.
And then it's one thing after another that trickles down to the next. Like,
yes, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't
playing Baltimore, like they were up by 17 points. Deshaun Watson's the quarterback and everything. He ends up trickling away at it. Greg Newsome gets an interception. They get the ball back. Deshaun drives him down the field. We kick the field goal. We win by 1 point.
I agree. And again, even with that game with Cleveland, like they were very competitive, but
they always are against
I just
Baltimore,
feel like Cincinnati's offense was so cold. Okay, they were not connected. They were a mess. They didn't
Cleveland's
get anything.
defense is also really good this year.
They are, and that's why I was like, okay, I could see things changing up from there. So, but let's tap into the news. We got a lot to really break down up from there.
And now, here we go. Hey everyone, it's story time. This is the hot press.
All right, let's hear what we got to have up onto the news stories, because there's a lot of stuff that we're breaking down that's just so much that I'm excited for this upcoming week.
Yeah, so from what I've been hearing is that he was pulled from the game yesterday, which means that we could be seeing the number 1 overall pick from last year's MLB draft brought up to the major leagues within the next few days or even by the end of this week, because he was playing or planning on playing yesterday, was fully healthy, no issues wrong, and then they pulled him from the lineup and brought him into the clubhouse, which means more than likely he will be up with the Guardians in the next couple days.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're getting to that point where the season's almost close to ending, and we know that we're going to get a lot of call-ups this month. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a tough race because right now, what I've seen in the American League, I've seen the Rangers, the Mariners, and a couple other teams that are fighting for the wild card spots right now. So this is going to be kind of crucial. And Texas is a very competitive team. And all that it's going to take is for them to get up and on a hot streak and then eventually make their way to where, you know, they face up the first opponent, and depending on who that opponent is, they could seriously make a case for that. So yeah. I'm excited for it, but it should be interesting though along the way.
I am definitely excited, and the Mariners actually took over first place in their division right now. The Astros are in the wild card spot, leading the lead for the top wild card spot. And then it trickles down. Guardians are 3 games out of the current wild card spot, and we'll see what happens there. Yankees are now in second place in their division. Blue Jays have the lead in the division. So with playoff baseball coming around the corner, it is going to be a tight race in terms of what we are going to see go on here. And right now for the American League, here is another piece of news. We are seeing Cal Raleigh be the be the leader for the MVP voting for the American League.
Not surprised. I mean, you know, he's swinging the bat well, and I think what we're seeing out of Cal Raleigh, I mean, again, when has the Mariners ever had, like, you know, a season in which one of their players they're accounted for like just play like this? He's having a heck of a career season. I'm really happy for him. But again, all this is going to trickle down to how the Mariners really do play in the end. But I am very happy of how his season has turned out all season long. And he was just an unexpected name. Like, I did not expect Cal Raleigh to like literally do what he did. I mean, I watched Chris Davis years ago, but this is by far, I think, the most explosive season we've seen.
Yeah, no, by a catcher, I think this is the most explosive batting season we've seen from a catcher since Buster Posey.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And Buster Posey, I mean, he's well respected, man. And so that's why I'm like, this was by far like a very good season out of the catcher position. I had never seen anything like it. It was very fun.
Yeah, it like I truly like watching it, and I'm hoping that the Mariners can win their first ever World Series. It would be nice to see championship back in Seattle for in a while.
We'll see by the time that we get closer and closer up and into the postseason if that becomes the case.
Oh, dude, it like if they're in first place right now, let's see if they can hold that lead. Them or the Brewers. I would love to see a first-time World Series champion like we did with Texas just a couple years ago. Moving on to the football side of news, we had some bad news yesterday with the report that Austin Eckler has torn his Achilles and will be out for the season. And with him tearing his Achilles and out for the season, and Quinshon Judkins coming back for the Browns, I think that we have a chance that Jerome Ford could be on the trade block, and I could see the Commanders making a call to get Jerome Ford as their backup running back there.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different options, you know, but yeah, that does kind of suck for Washington. I mean, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, like, he's a very good running back, but you definitely do need that secondary running back that's just going to at least take a lot of heat off of you. I was just again, especially when you need like a pass catching running back. There are some options that are available for that, but yeah, it's just a tough blow right now for Washington with that. I mean, I don't say that the offense is really going to deplete much. I mean, this is a hit, but I mean, I still trust Jaden Daniels. He'll still end up, playing exactly his game, even if he has to do half rushes, half of those that he gets those underneath throw. That's what I'm saying. For fantasy owners that have both Jaden Daniels and Deebo Samuel, I could see Deebo coming up and into packages as well, where there's going to be, some spread offenses, swing routes, and even just, a lot of these checkdowns, because that's going to be really crucial for the Commanders moving forward.
Yeah, I think it'll be very huge and very crucial. And, let's move on to the college football side of things, okay? We have seen that one of the top coaches or top, candidates for head coaching over the past few years has been Lincoln Riley. And we have seen how dominant he's been in producing quarterbacks into the NFL. There's been reports recently that Andy Reid does not like the direction that the offenses are going. Ever since Eric Bieniemy left, the offense has gone downhill in terms of how explosive and how great Patrick Mahomes has been. He's been Patrick Mahomes, he's been good, but it's not up at the upper echelon tier that they've been looking for.
No,
and rumors going around that he is thinking about letting Matt Nagy go, bringing up Lincoln Riley to be the offensive coordinator, and then potentially taking over the team after he retires.
Well, this is why I said, with the stuff with, USC, and I was even saying this about Lincoln Riley, is why not just be a coordinator in the NFL to start with? Because if you think about it, Steve Sarkisian did this, in the minute that he ended up taking the Texas job. It didn't work for Atlanta because Atlanta's offense just looked so stagnant. And you could tell by Sark's offense that he's not built for just a standalone quarterback. He wants a quarterback that moves. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. And that's why even with Matt Ryan, it just could not work. So even if you get someone like Arch, or even if you had someone like Quinn Ewers, that could be a very interesting offense. And I think, watching what Patrick Mahomes does, I mean, think about it. We had Cliff Kingsbury as his head coach at one point in Texas Tech. And so when you watch a team like that can move around, spread the ball around, I think Sark really is capable of that. And when I look at Lincoln Riley, that would be the similar thing. I mean, you watched what Caleb Williams looked like up at USC. You watched even what Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray was. He wants a mobile quarterback that can not only just, spread the ball around and be comfortable up in the pocket, but he wants somebody that's mobile. Jalen Hurts was also the same way.
And the minute that he can be that type of person.
Yes, he can. And I think, but I do agree with this. Brett Veach, what's crazy about this? Sky Moore, McCole Hardman, and a couple receivers, they have not quite hit. And I know Rashee Rice, he's up and on suspension, but I think that's what they're leaning really on. And I mean, look, Hollywood Brown, whatever, you got the speed. But that's, I don't know.
Keon Coleman started to look more like a threat than what Xavier Worthy was. And
I agree.
Back and forth that, they chose Xavier Worthy over Keon Coleman. So
look, Xavier Worthy, I don't see him being just a crucial piece. I just see him being like the gadget receiver that he can be, that will help, especially when you need to get those big play throws. Because that was initially what Tyreek Hill was. Tyreek Hill was the speed. He got the hands. Even though Tyreek Hill could do more, but I think with Xavier Worthy, I think it's a little bit harder because I just don't really see him get too creative up and onto his route trees. But I do see him be like deep bomb throw. He could throw it, and then he could go up and get it with wherever. Think about it. That throw from Patrick Mahomes when he was levitated off the ground, and you saw that throw from Hollywood Brown. Those plays right there are what's going to be crucial and what could keep possession for Kansas City. But
Yeah.
I don't see it any more than that, like getting that creative, because I think the other thing is, too, I think Howard said it best, was when you look at Kansas City in a way, you're kind of looking at Steph and Golden State. Guys are getting older. Like, you're leaning on Travis Kelce, you were leaning on Chris Jones, you were leaning on some guys. But this is also, too, the time where you really got to revolve. You really got to start mixing this stuff up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you watch the Chargers, you watched a little bit of Pete Carroll and the Raiders, and then even though I was not impressed with Denver offensively, defensively, they look competitive. There are some teams in the AFC that are competitive this year.
Which is why Les Snead is one of the most dangerous GMs and why he's so good, because he got rid didn't get rid, but like Aaron Donald retired and he just overloads and go gets Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, who have both filled out that D line phenomenally. And now his biggest task is going to try to have to be, who are the Rams going to get at quarterback after Matthew Stafford is gone? Sources are saying AR. Sources are saying somebody in the draft. We're going to have to wait and see what that entails.
Standing on business, and people hate me when I say this. What is wrong with going and getting someone like Will Levis? What is wrong with that?
I've been saying that for a long time.
I'm not even playing around. Like, why would that be such a bad option for the Rams?
I've been saying that for a long time too, man. Like, I agree. Can imagine Sean McVay with Will Levis, getting him back on track and getting him to be the type of guy that you really expected him to be when you drafted him with the second pick in the second round. That's insane. But in terms of like the whole Kansas City thing, like I just think that they need a great wide receiver until you can see it, like, because Rashid has already proved that he could be that number one option. You just got to have him on the field. And since he's not going to be there for 6 weeks, I could see them trying to go after Tyreek Hill again.
I could see that too. And like I said, with a depleted offense like this, I really don't expect this team, like, because they frustrated me on Friday, because red zone offense does not look creative like it usually is. I would also say I was just very shocked they didn't even utilize Isaiah Pacheco like they should have.
I think it's
you notice that how many times
Eric Enemy anymore.
Well, that, but I also do think draft picks do come into play with this. Like, Josh Simmons was very good, but
he was phenomenal.
I just think for some positions, like 3-4 years ago, they didn't quite draft a lot of like some of those hits in the middle of it, because you're watching San Francisco right now with some of their depth pieces. Look what's happening to them.
Letting some of them walk too, like L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, in a sense, but I do know L'Jarius Sneed. There was some back and forth with that. Like there was. I mean, I love Trent McDuffie. Don't get me wrong. I even like Jaden Hicks, the young kid they got at Washington State. But there are some things that I'm like, I really am surprised of, because you don't usually see Kansas City like this.
I just think that we're going to have to wait and see, because, like, to me, it's kind of like the Patriots with Tom Brady. Like, when you have Tom Brady, you're never really out of, the chance of winning games, making it to the playoffs and everything like that. It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that they're out of it. I don't think that they're going to lose a lot of games, and I don't think that they're going to miss the playoffs. It's just going to be tough, and we're going to have to see that Mahomes magic in order for it to happen.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah. All right, Chase with the news.
And now, here we go. Hey, everyone, it's story time. This is the Hot Press.
Hot Press.
I know, for real. Actually, I low-key really do like how we came up with our Hot Press up from there. We definitely got to thank the media team just for doing that. So again, we're changing this up. This will be the last time that I think that we do a full slate of Jake's Prime Predictions, but it's not completely going away, because I will be doing the full slate on our social medias. I just think because of time constraints and what we do, edits, a lot of it's It's a lot. But I think, but again, I think this will help us out a little bit more when it comes to really dissecting a lot of these football games, because there's so much football to really dissect.
Yeah, a lot.
But I really am liking these picks, and so I got about just one that I'm working on. But again, I think last week I told you how many of those dogs were barking. There was a lot of them that were barking last weekend. I loved every single one of those, and I told a lot of people, like, look, you got to be careful of some of these trap games, because a lot of those are not going to hit than when people think they are. So, I mean, hopefully they didn't take the bait, but I was very confident. I was very confident in a lot of these games. All right, so we are capitalizing for what we had up from last week and going into this week, up and in week 2 of our prime predictions. Here we go.
Let's turn it up. It's Jake's prime predictions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, boy.
Let's see who we...
All right, so here we go. So the Cincinnati Bengals did not look good up from the first start of their week, but I expect them to clean things up. I'm going to take the Bengals at -3.5. Listen, I know a lot of people were thinking, this offense looked completely slow. I completely agree up on it. But Joe Burrow, usually teams that don't quite look good up and onto the first week often rebound into the next week. And they're playing a Jacksonville team who feel great about themselves. They were number 2, number 3 graded pass protected offensive line last week. I don't see that happening this week. I think what the defensive culture that they're trying to instill in Cincinnati looks completely buttoned up. It looks a lot better. I like with what I saw from just defensively. Offensively, though, they're going to get things rolling. I'm going to take Cincinnati comfortable up and at home to win the game against Jacksonville 27-20. Listen, that offensive clinic that you saw from Dallas last week is not a fraud. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys to cover -5.5. And best of all, you are at home against another division rival who, unlike the Philadelphia Eagles when you were on the road in Philly, they didn't perform well against their division rival against Washington. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win up and into this game. The Giants just look completely dysfunctional up and on offense. I mean, no Andrew Thomas. Evan Neal looks like a complete bust. And by the way, Russell Wilson continues to be a shell of himself as he's getting past his prime. And I don't think, the Giants fans understand this, but it was so traumatizing watching Russell Wilson look completely mid last week, and then watching Daniel Jones at home against the Dolphins light it up and put 33 points. How do you think Giants fans are feeling right now? They're losing their minds. I'm taking the Cowboys because defensively, they looked very good against the run. Offensively, I think CeeDee Lamb, you're going to watch him. I think he's going to be one of my good picks right up from there when it comes to receptions. I see CeeDee Lamb get much more reliable. I don't think he'll have a performance like he did last week, but I'll take the Cowboys to cover and win 30-17. Okay, just because the Chicago Bears lost last week at home against a division rival and the resilience from J.J. McCarthy last week doesn't mean I don't believe in their defense. I'll take the Bears at +6.5. The difference maker of it is that since Chicago's defense last week, when they played up in the first 3 quarters, they were getting after J.J. McCarthy. So defensively, I had no problems and had no concerns. However, Detroit played everything, small ball. And just because, when you watched a lot of those completions for Jared Goff, that's not from beyond 5 yards. That was definitely below it. And what I think is happening is that the coordinators look just completely conservative, and I think that's going to give them a lot of fits when the Bears are coming up into town and they're knocking those away. I'm going to take Chicago on the road to really, and by the way, this is a revenge tour for Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson's going to basically try to prove to himself, look, I'm the guy. I'm the guy who was the architect that put together that offense there for Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is a culture coach, but this is where he's going to feel a lot of the pain. 23-21, Bears covered it at 6.5. All right, I'm going to listen, the Tennessee Titans, as much as that game was for Denver, where Denver was horrible, I'm going to take the Titans plus 5.5. And look, they're at home. They're in Nashville. And what was the takeaway of it? Cam Ward can play. Okay, don't kid yourselves. Cam Ward can run. He can throw. He can make those connections. I think the Titans will be all right here up and into this game. And to me, I think Cam Ward, and with the defense, what they put together against Bo Nix, they converted 2 interceptions against Bo Nix. The Titans defense is not completely off. But I do think that the Rams were a little slow to start with because Matt Stafford was dealing with that lingering injury he came back from. I'm going to take the Titans points with the Rams, though, however, winning the game, but I do not trust the 5.5 up from the Rams. After the performance I got from last week, I'll take the points from Tennessee, but the Rams win 24-21. Okay, I know somebody asked about it. Here you are. The Patriots, I'm going to take the plus 1.5. Listen, that was a competitive game. Even though that we didn't get much from Drake May, I think that's just the start of Mike Vrabel really trying to get things together. Look, the Patriots, even if they lost that game last week against the Raiders at home, it doesn't mean that this team won't get better as progressions start. But, man, Miami, they're on the road. And Miami just needs to figure out their offense because a lot of guys are up and onto the hot seat. Don't be surprised a bit that Mike Vrabel comes in, plays spoiler, and just makes it worse for Dolphin fans. I mean, they couldn't generate anything on offense. The offensive line right now is kind of deteriorated. They're trying to fit up for speed. I just think that this is so dysfunctional of the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to take the Patriots to cover and win 24-23 on the road in South Beach, Miami. So I'll tell you what, the takeaway from the games last week, Buffalo had to rely on Josh Allen winning the game. But how about that Jets offensive line holding down Pittsburgh? I'm going to take the Jets points plus 6.5. They actually did pretty good for me. It's one thing to come off of a week where you were giving guys like TJ Watt and the rest of that Pittsburgh defense a lot of fits, where Justin Fields, how good did he look last week? He's throwing the ball, slinging it left and right, looked a lot better up on offense. I love what I saw from that offense from the Jets. I think they might try to give Buffalo's defensive fits holding them back, but I do believe, though, Josh Allen will do the job. I think they come away with a win. So I got the Bills winning 27-24, but after what I saw from the Jets are going to be just fine. I mean, even if they go 0-2, this is not a bad 0-2. This is going to be a team that is just, they got fire in their bellies, they're hungry, and they're going to be a team that I know is going to go up on a streak at some point. 27-24, Buffalo wins, but I take the Jets covering the points. So the offense was a little bit slow for Seattle last week, but I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers minus 2.5 up at home. Listen, Aaron Rodgers, even if you didn't believe that offense looked good last week, Aaron Rodgers did exactly what he did. 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions, and especially with the amount of yards he threw against that Jets defense. So I think the Steelers offense could figure out some stuff. I don't completely trust their offensive line, but defensively they got shelled. And I think this week, because they're kind of getting a little of a pass, you're comfortable up at home. You're playing Seattle, who's going up and onto the road. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers here to win and cover up at minus 2.5, winning 27-20 up at home. I think they're much better up on defense, and they're definitely going to find ways to shut down Seattle's offense. Okay, who in the hell put this line together? Chase is probably going to laugh because he knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns at plus 11.5. That's just disrespectful. First of all, you're playing a division rival game, and you're giving the Ravens 11.5 after what they put against the Buffalo Bills. This is not the Bills. Okay, look, division rival games. This is why I cannot believe that Vegas even put this up on their boards anyway. Cleveland's defense actually came up and played very, very well, holding up Cincinnati to 17 points. Offensively, they couldn't get anything going. Now, the question mark is Joe Flacco, the rest of them. We know Quinshon Judkins is up and into the air, but the Browns were playing a lot of physicality football. So, which is why I think covering the game makes a lot of sense for me. Eventually, Cleveland is going to have to come narrowing down with their offense at some point. I will take Baltimore to win 27-20, but 11.5 is just disrespectful to a team that really did well up on defense. I'll take the Browns points at 11.5. All right, just because the Denver Broncos didn't look good up on offense last week does not mean that they won't potentially look good up on defense this week. I'm going to take Denver to win 1.5 points up here. They're playing the Colts up and on the road. Look, the Colts and Danny Dimes looked very good against Miami, who Miami is just completely dysfunctional. But I don't see Danny Dimes having a game like this again against a top front-loaded defense like Denver. They only gave up a few points to Tennessee. Even though Cam Ward was mobile and started running, Denver at least got away with a win up from there. So I feel like there's going to be some games Denver's going to bail themselves out of. I don't see them bailing out next week. I do feel like they're going to be very, very challenged at the end of it, but I do feel like Denver is going to really rely on their defense to shut down Danny Dimes. I'm going to take the Broncos to win on the road 24-20 against the Colts. A very competitive game at the end. This is actually going to be a pretty good game in my opinion. I'll take the Cardinals minus 6.5 here at home. Now, they are playing the Carolina Panthers, and the Carolina Panthers really disappointed the hell out of me. I thought they would have looked different up on offense. Nope. They've reverted back to the offense where they were trying to come up with big plays. They thought that Bryce Young would have some confidence. They were not getting ready up on completing simple stuff, and that was what was pissing me off. So the Cardinals, though, however, against the Saints, how good did that defense look? That's going to be the difference maker up from there. Will Johnson looks very healthy, and he looks like a scary number one corner up from there that people are really liking up on defense. I expect Trey McBride to get involved. I expect MHJ to really connect up well with Kyler Murray. They looked very good last week. I'm going to take the Cardinals double downing up at home, beating the Carolina Panthers 28-20. All right, the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. You're damn right I'm going to end up taking the minus 1.5. The problem I had with Kansas City last week, they were not clever at all on a lot of places. They were not clever on offense on the red zone. They did not utilize Isaiah Pacheco the way that they should have, like they usually do. And Philadelphia, by the way, Jalen Carter is not getting suspended. So Jalen Carter will be playing. The only difference of it is that the corner two, I didn't really like for Philadelphia, but they held on and Jalen Hurts improvised. This is also not the same Kansas City team that we saw in the last few years. Okay, this offense looks completely different. Defensively, I mean, they put Chris Jones on the edge, and he didn't even do nothing against Joe Alt. Like, that was what was the crazy part against the Chargers. So I feel like Philadelphia on the road could come up and really play spoiler football up and in Arrowhead, a loud place to be in. I take Philadelphia in a highly emotional game once again to win this game and cover it 27-23. So I'm going to go on a limb here. I love what I saw from the Falcons until they got conservative, but I'm going to take the Falcons here to cover the points at 3.5. Listen, Minnesota is a very good defensive team who really did shine late in the fourth quarter with J.J. McCarthy's resilience. Here's the only thing, though. Michael Penix against a tough team like a division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, literally close to lighting up 300 passing yards. And by the way, came up very cleanly on passing touchdowns. He is a guy that could really utilize a lot from Bijan Robinson and the rest of the offensive weapons. And by the way, Drake London and Darnell Mooney are cleared to play. They are ready to play. I love what I saw from how Michael Penix ended up playing this weekend. So I'm going to take the Falcons to cover the points and win against Minnesota on the road, 27-24. The first of two Monday Night Football games. This is going to be interesting up from here. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win and cover against the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans offensive line was not good last week against a young Rams defense that was giving C.J. Stroud a lot of problems. It was not good. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers here to end up winning and covering. I think Baker Mayfield, I had a lot of Tampa Bay fans come up at me at the top 10. But I think this is the opportunity where they can win up the top 10. I think Baker Mayfield's a very good quarterback. I do feel like he has thrown the ball very well. I also do think Emeka Egbuka is a very steal of a pick. And so Tampa Bay is going to really light up on offense. But I do feel like Houston's ground game could give them up some fits. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win and cover 24-20. Yes, the second of the AFC West rival game. I'm going to take the LA Chargers on the Monday Night Football game that is going to be fun and really lighting it up against the Raiders. The Chargers last week, here's what's crazy about this. In pass coverages for the Chargers, they did not give up sacks on pass coverages. A lot of these were very fast, quick, where they got up to Justin Herbert twice, but a lot of this, Joe Alt ended up playing well. Trey Pipkins played well. Even Jamari Salyer played pretty good as well. But the Chargers offense, Keenan Allen was a big X factor. 7 catches. And of the 7 catches, 6 of those were determined by third down conversions or a touchdown. That's how good this Chargers offense is going to be looking like. And with the Raiders, they lost Brock Bowers. And at the same time, Geno Smith was throwing the ball left and right. So he's lighting it up and on the yards. But it's going to take a lot to really get past a situational defense like the Chargers, who are coming up onto the road in Vegas. Old school rivalry between Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll. Give me the Chargers to win and cover 27-21. All right, that is my picks up from there. I really do feel like we've got some pretty good games. I like the favorites this week. Yeah. I just did not like the 11.5 from Cleveland. That's a trap. I'm not taking it. I just think, why? Because Baltimore just knows how to run up the school? They run up the score?
I think so.
No, come on. If they run up the score, how are they going to end up keeping it? Last week, they couldn't even keep a 20-point lead.
I don't even see us coming close to winning this game.
Well, here's the thing. Somewhere in the middle of this game, I could see some change-ups for Kevin Stefanski. I just feel like, I just don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough game.
I mean, we're going to start off 0-3 because we got the Packers next week anyway, so.
Yeah, you're facing up against another tough defense up from there. I just, like I said, I just don't trust these 11.5s. It's just so hard because after what I saw from Dallas last week, and I think one other team too. I just didn't like it. The only one who disappointed me was the Giants more than anything. That was the only one with the 6.5. I just couldn't do it. So, yeah, should be a fun weekend this weekend. But yeah, I do. But by the way, I took a couple of college football picks for this weekend and what I was going to basically reveal. So last week we went 3 for 3. This week I'm taking Tennessee plus 3.5 against Georgia because I do feel like that's going to be a competitive game in itself. And hopefully Gunnar Stockton is prepared for that. I'm taking the under of 56.5 for South Florida and Miami. I just feel like South Florida is going to give Miami fits. I don't care if it's Carson Beck. I don't think that this is going to be the same thing that they're going to be running into like they did last week. And then I'm taking LSU 7.5 against Florida in Death Valley. I think LSU is going to cover that. And I just think Billy Napier, for whatever reason, just seems to be getting closer and closer to where nobody's going to trust him. I'm giving him a pass this week, but any sort of changes that really are ones that you don't usually will see from Florida, especially with DJ Lagway, I ain't going to like it. I am not going to like it. So, but again, Death Valley, to me, in my opinion, it's a hard place to play at night. That's a 5:30 game. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I don't think Florida's going to last in that. So, yeah, hopefully we can go 3 for 3 again. Because, again, I loved what South Florida did to Florida, and I took the under on that game. Took Oklahoma on the points. And I think I took one other team. Oh, I took Oregon on the points. So,
there you go.
That's what I'm saying. I think this is going to be another good weekend for us. College football's really been hitting for us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate it, man. Appreciate everybody for coming up onto the program this week. We had a lot of really good stuff. Next week is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be interesting. We should be having up some guests here next week. It's going to be fun-filled, and we got a lot of stuff coming back here for us come the next week because we got some deals ready for you guys. So just you wait, and it's definitely going to be some changes. The Prime Predictions is not going to be fully going away. It's just going to be moving because a lot of stuff we got to cover up. So, but Jake's Inferno 5 is going to be coming up in here, and I'm excited to get ready up for that. So just you wait, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun next week. With Chase and myself, have a great rest of your night and the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys what the outcome will be after this weekend. Take care, everyone.